It's time for the RMAC Radio Show, featuring all the latest information from around the Rocky Mountain Athletic Conference. The RMAC is a proud member of NCAA Division II. Now, here's your host, Eric Danner.
Welcome to the RMAC Radio Show. I'm Eric Danner. We're on location for our first show of 2012 here in Silver City, New Mexico. We got a big show planned for you today. We're going to talk in just a few seconds here with Mark Coleman, the head men's basketball coach and athletic director at Western New Mexico. We're also going to visit with Kent Beatty, the head golf coach here, and then we're also going to hear from Danny Woodhead of the New England Patriots. We had a chance to talk with him when the Patriots were playing the Denver Broncos during the holiday break, but we're going to start with men's basketball. And as we mentioned, Coach Mark Coleman now joins us in his 9th season at Western New Mexico. And Coach, always a challenging time of year, the holidays and the layoff, and then you come back and you got to get right back into conference action. How do you handle, do you let the guys go for a little while and blow off some steam, or what do you do?
Actually, after our Springs game, Eric, I think that was on the 18th, we took a break. And I let the kids go, and we came back on the 27th and practiced in the morning, and then shot in the afternoon. And it was good. We needed the break. I think they needed the break, I needed the break, and we needed to start fresh, especially after the 2 losses we had against Pueblo and Springs. And it's nice to be at home. Last year we actually came back right after Christmas because, again, on the 27th, but we played in the UTEP tournament, and I actually think that helped us. We had a couple of games before we jumped into the RMAC play, and we beat Christian and beat Mines, who was ranked at the time. So that actually helped us. Hopefully the break helped us also again this week.
And we're recording this during the RMAC Showcase television show, which will be on in a few weeks. So we're recording it here in Silver City, New Mexico. Had a chance to visit with you before this interview, and TJ Riley and Chad Carter, a couple of guys that were preseason all-conference, and I know you're going to be counting on them the second half of this year, trying to make a run for the RMAC tournament.
We will, Eric, and they're 2 talented players. They're both inside and outside players. TJ can get to the basket, also shoot from the outside, and Chad as well. Those guys are being counted on to kind of shoulder the load for us, and they've been keyed on by other teams. We haven't had other people step up like we need to for those guys to also be successful, to take some pressure off of them. But TJ and Chad are the heart of our team, and we need those 2 guys to play well for us to be successful.
And we always hear about how far it is for Western New Mexico, for the travel, for people to get here, but people always kind of forget, I think, that you have to make that trip the other direction every time you go on the road. But can you use that to your advantage, perhaps that there's a psychological thing going on, especially when you got the back-to-back nights?
I think that we've gotten used to it, and our guys, we have a young team that's a veteran team, and I think they've gotten used to traveling on these trips. And you know, when teams have to make this trip, and you know, a Mines or a Christian has to leave Denver, it's a little bit rough on them. And we do use it psychologically, knowing that if they've played Highlands first, they now have to decide how are they going to make this trip, and how are they going to get down to Silver City, the 6 hours from Las Vegas, New Mexico, down to Silver City. And teams do it differently, and when they have to do it the other way, they have to make the trip all the way down to Silver City. They've done that differently also. So psychologically, it is a little bit difficult. I think that's why we have been successful at home for the most part, and I think we've gotten better on the road. But it's a tough place to play, and it's a tough trip to make. And like you said, I love those guys that complain about coming here once a year and sometimes once every 2 years, when we're making this trip out of here every other week.
Now, your 9th year as head coach here, but your first year as athletic director, so you're wearing a couple of different hats, and then right off the bat, you had some hires to make, and then the big bus fire that we heard so much about. So a little adversity to overcome in your first year as AD.
It was interesting, Eric, and hopefully things will calm down from now on. But I have a great staff who helped out. The RMAC was fantastic in the whole ordeal. Fort Lewis was fantastic in the whole ordeal, and Bloomfield High School, where we were stranded for about 4 or 5 hours. So I had a lot of help. I had help from Adam Clark and his staff, and We've had some trials and tribulations so far in the fall semester, and like I said, hopefully things will calm down a little bit, or coaching basketball might look a lot better to me by springtime.
Yeah, and it almost is springtime already. I guess the spring sports will be starting up practice here before too long. You got a new softball coach, as Scott Woodard, who you replaced as AD, was the softball coach as well, and you have a new tennis coach, and also Brian Courts joined your staff.
I think the three hires that we have will do a fantastic job. Brian already has done a great job. Being thrown right into football isn't always easy. It would have been nice for him to get his feet wet in the summer, but he did a great job transitioning right into football and then right into men's and women's basketball on top of the other sports that we had in the fall. Guy DuPont I think is going to do a great job for us with the tennis program. The players so far love him. He was an assistant with UNM, and he brings a wealth of talent and teaching that I think will be very advantageous to our men's and women's programs. And I can't say enough about Angela Slaw. She was a great player for us. She did a great job for Scott as an assistant, and it's her time. And I think she's ready. I think that she'll make the transition from being a player, then an assistant, to being a head coach because she wants to. This is what she wants to do. This is where she wants to be, and I look for good things from our softball program.
And then throw into the mix a brand new president after Dr. John Counts had been here for a number of years. You got a new president.
Dr. Shepard is one of those guys that hits the ground running, and we basically started about the same time, and he wants to get things done, and which is fantastic for me. I had to start being an athletic director by not sitting back and waiting for things to happen. He made things happen, and that's to me a plus. And he made changes, and he made positive changes where Dr. Counts did a fantastic job here. Scott Woodard did a fantastic job here, but it's always good with change, and that's what we're seeing. Dr. Shepard is planning on putting in new dorms for the university, which will be unbelievable, not only for the athletic department but for the entire university. And he's very pro-athletics, which is only going to help us 100%. So I look forward to working with him for many years, and it's an exciting time, I think, for Western New Mexico.
That is Mark Coleman, the head men's basketball coach and athletic director at Western New Mexico University. For more on what's happening around the RMAC in men's basketball, let's head over to Chris Polton at the RMAC Sports Desk.
Thanks, Eric. Biggest game of the year in conference play thus far as first-ranked Metro State travels to Colorado Mines, who's ranked 12th in the nation on Friday night. The Roadrunners will look to stay perfect as the Orediggers try to climb back to the top spot with their 6-1 conference record. Saturday night, MSCD heads to Lakewood, where Colorado Christian awaits in search of their first win of the season in RMAC play. Adams State takes their 6-1 record on the road to New Mexico Highlands this weekend. The Grizzlies have 3-5 Western New Mexico on Friday night, and then 4-4 New Mexico Highlands on Saturday night. Fort Lewis also hitting the road to New Mexico this weekend. The Skyhawks, just 2 games back of the top spot in conference play, face the Cowboys on Friday night and then the Mustangs on Saturday night. Colorado Mesa dropped 2 in a row last weekend and try to make that right this weekend in Grand Junction. The 5-3 Mavericks will host CSU Pueblo on Friday. The T-Wolves, with a win, can climb back to 500. Then CMU welcomes in UC Colorado Springs on Saturday, who enter the weekend at 4-3. Nebraska Kearney with only 1 game on Saturday night against rivals Chadron State. The Lopers look to go above 500, where the Eagles are searching for their 3rd conference win. Western State at 2-6 after 4 weeks of conference play have 2 home games this weekend. The Mountain Lions on Friday night and then CSUP on Saturday night. Lastly, Regis, fresh off the upset win over Mesa, hit the road to CCU on Friday, and then the Orediggers on Saturday night. America One is your way to watch all the RMAC action online. I'm Chris Polton, and that's your men's basketball update.
Thank you, Chris. When we come back, we're going to hear from Kent Beatty, the head golf coach here at Western New Mexico. You're listening to the RMAC Radio Show.